Am I the butthole for not comforting my brother after his wife cheated on him again? About 9 years ago, my brother's wife left him for another man. She was cheating on him all that time. My brother was devastated. They had married very young. I was always against it. I had my brother in my apartment for months. He had fallen into a severe depression, and I was the one who paid for his psychologist since he didn't have money and even lost his job because he didn't even wanted to move from the couch or bath. I even gave him a bath. I wasn't bothered by that. I did everything for my brother. She just left and blocked him from everywhere. She simply confessed to him that she had been cheating on him for a year, and that she was in love with that man. 4 years after that, when my brother was finally starting to feel better, she reappeared in everyone's life. The typical thing happened. She and her lover were no longer together. She had begun to receive psychological help and changed completely. She felt regretful. She was really sorry, etc. I told my brother all the time to cut off contact with her for the sake of his mental health. He didn't. I always had a bad feeling and I could smell the crap from afar. He started to justify her past actions all the time by saying that she changed. They were too young, she was having problems, etc. And he got angry when I told him that she is still a bad woman. Shortly after that, they got back together and my brother cut off all contact with me because I didn't accept their relationship and he didn't wanted anyone to come between them. I told him to F off and we didn't talk anymore. Now my brother has reappeared at my house, after years without him wanting to talk to me, only to tell me that his wife cheated on him again, but this time they have children. In the past I would have let him in, hugged him and everything, but he has gone years without even inviting me to meet his children. He has not even spoken to me to congratulate me on my marriage or on my pregnancy. I even invited him to my wedding, and he didn't come. I told him that at this moment I can't let him be in my house, which is actually true because I can't have that kind of stress. He told me that we are siblings and he needs me, but I told him that I needed him too, but he was never there and he cut me off for that woman. We had an argument and my husband ended up kicking him out because I was already crying. He's staying with our parents now and my mother just tells me it's not the time to hold a grudge against him and he needs me, but I can't forget how he didn't think twice before cutting off all contact with me for her. Update. I have spoken to my mother because she kept trying to persuade me to talk to my brother. She came to see me since I cannot move too much. She basically told me that my brother is very sorry and I told her that then he should tell me that and not her. But my mother replied that my brother is too embarrassed about his actions. But I told her that I am not going to let her be any kind of mediator and my brother is old enough to speak for himself. I know he was sending her to insist that I talk back to him. My brother is an adult and can speak for himself. That said, 2 days ago my brother came to my house to talk about everything. He told me something that I always knew, which is that he never got over his ex-wife, and he was always totally blind for her. He believed that all of us who were against him coming back to her were toxic, and he should cut us out of his life because we were an obstacle that didn't believe people can change, so that's what he did with me, block me from his life. He said that he feels ashamed of himself for having been so blind since she cheated on him again. I never told him I told you so, nor am I going to, cause he already knows that. There were many people worried about whether their children were his, but I can assure everyone that they are. They look identical to him and luckily she was maybe faithful at that time. Anyway, after talking he apologized to me and told me that he needs me, but I told him the same thing as that day. I needed him too and he was never there. I forgive him for everything, but that doesn't mean that I want to go back to everything being like before because I don't want to put myself in that situation again. He didn't even tell me what he's going to do with his wife, and I don't want the situation to repeat. I never did anything expecting something in return, but it did hurt me a lot that he turned his back on me without thinking twice and only came back when things got bad for him. I had invited him to my wedding, maybe foolishly believing that he would come, but he didn't even do that. I even kept a seat for him thinking he was maybe coming late, and I feel really dumb for doing that. I told him I'm sorry, but I want things to continue as before since I got used to not having him in my life, and I don't trust that he won't use me as a nurse and therapist anymore. At first he didn't understand it and said that we are siblings and we should be united, but when I told him that he forgot that for years, he shut up. So that's it. I simply told him that I prefer to continue without contact with him as before, and I have made it clear to my mother that I want to spend these months peacefully. Maybe some will call me cruel and say I should think about my family, but I'm not going to let him treat me like she treated him. Next story. Am I the butthole for saying I'm second-guessing having a baby with my husband after he asked for a paternity test? I 26F and my husband Alex 27M have been married for a year. Recently, I found out I was pregnant. This was not planned. However, ever since we got married, we have not been using protection every time we got intimate, and I'm currently not on any birth control. My guess is that I'm only a few weeks along. I haven't seen a doctor yet. Anyway, I told him when he got back home from work yesterday. I personally was very happy about it because I've always wanted a mom. I was pretty sure I was all smiles when I told him, and I thought he would be too once he found out the news. Let me add that he's been neutral on having kids. My assumption was wrong. Immediately he gets super upset and asks how in the hell this could happen. I explained to him that while it was sudden, we hadn't been using protection every time, so it wasn't that surprising. I thought he would have understood. For some reason he didn't. After a few minutes of back and forth, he demanded a paternity test and told me there was no way it was his. I was hurt and insulted. Let me be very clear that I did not, and will never, cheat on my husband. I have also never given him any reason for him to be suspicious about me cheating on him, either. I was so taken aback that he doubted my loyalty enough to ask for a paternity test. I told him I couldn't believe he was seriously asking me for that. He said that I wasn't helping my case, and that if I had nothing to hide, then I would take the test and prove my loyalty to him. I honestly can't remember all that I said, but I ended up saying something along the lines of, "If you're doubting me and my loyalty so much that you think I cheated on you and got pregnant with someone else's baby, then I don't think I want one with you anymore. I don't want to be tied to someone who clearly doesn't trust me." He blew up at me and accused me of cheating once again. It was a big argument, and he said I was being crappy, dismissing his concerns, and saying that asking for a paternity test was valid. In the end, I agreed to the test, but said that I stood by my words. Had to highlight that because some people are saying that I didn't agree to it when I very much did. We haven't spoken since the argument, and he's currently at work. I went to my friend for advice, and she said that while he was out of line for accusing me of cheating, I shouldn't have said that to him over one of his valid concerns, and that clearly had a reason to feel that way about the situation. I cannot fathom made him feel like I was cheating on him. I was just so hurt that he would insult me like that and accuse me of doing something so disgusting when I thought we were supposed to have trust in each other. But am I the butthole for saying what I did? Edit. A lot of people are suggesting he got a secret vasectomy that failed, and that did cross my mind. During the argument, I did ask if he got a vasectomy or was infertile, and that's why the baby couldn't be his. But he dismissed that and continued saying it just couldn't be his without providing me a solid reason. So in that regard, I have really no idea what to say. Edit 2. I feel I should elaborate on the neutral about kids part. I told him while we were still just dating that no kids was a deal breaker for me. He said that was fine because his stance on it was that if we ever have kids, it's fine. If something happens and we don't, it's fine. I'm calling that neutral since I don't know what else to call it. So when I told him I was pregnant, I thought he would be fine with it like he said. But apparently he just changed his mind about that and didn't tell me. And also, I have no issues with men wanting paternity tests. I just had an issue with him blatantly accusing me of being a cheater with no solid proof to back it up along with it. Update. Hi everybody, this isn't going to be a super crazy update saying we got the test back and he got a secret vasectomy etc. etc. but it's kind of a big one. This might be a long post, so I'll put a TLDR at the bottom. Thank you for everyone's kind words and advice. It was all super helpful, including criticism, because it really made me reflect on my behavior and how I handled the situation. On top of that, I'm so sorry that I didn't really respond to any comments. There were a lot just coming in non-stop, and it was a little overwhelming. Moving on. After I made that post and he came home from work, I cooked him his favorite dinner and let him relax a bit before I calmly approached the subject again. I told him that I was happy to do the paternity test, just that I was a little hurt that he would accuse me of cheating on him because I loved him a lot and would hate to make him feel that way. I also apologized for what I said. I asked him if he was just overwhelmed scared from the news and that's why he accused me like he did. He said that wasn't it, and that was genuinely his biggest concern. He then told me he wasn't willing to talk to me, say anything else, or negotiate about anything until after we get the test done. I asked if he was sure, and he practically yelled at me telling me to drop the subject for now. So I did. And so things have been super tense. I'd been scrolling through comment after comment for what feels like forever. A lot of you said he was cheating. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and chalk it up to him being told he was infertile or something, but I ended up getting a really bad sinking feeling in my gut that I should check his phone. I never wanted to be the type of person that goes through their SO's phone obsessively for no reason, but my gut has never really steered me wrong, so I did it last night while he was sleeping. I snuck his phone off his nightstand and went out to the living room. He's cheating on me. And if that wasn't bad enough, it is, indeed, with my friend I mentioned in the last post. Like a lot of you said, I guess it does make sense now that I think about it, but I'm still really shocked. I'd never been suspicious of their relationship before, but after reading the comments I realize her reaction was a red flag. I went through their texts, and from what I can tell it's only been going on for a few months and started after we got married. But really, I only focused on the texts from right after I told him I was pregnant. He texted her saying things like, "I don't know what I was thinking when I decided to F her without a condom." She says it's mine, of course, but I swear to God it better not be. I'll be happy if it isn't. Obviously, I don't want a kid with her. I'd rather be with you than be stuck with her, you in this context being my friend. I know I should have been careful. I don't care if she thinks I'm a jerk or an awful husband right now. This was his reply when my friend told him that I came to her about the situation. So yeah, those were just a few messages, but their conversations were hard to read and I ended up crying a lot. I screenshotted the messages, sent them to myself from his phone, deleted the texts on his phone so it looked like he'd never sent anything, and then deleted the screenshots and deleted them from the recently deleted folder. I also went on his laptop to check if they were deleted there too. From his texts, I gathered that he did not have a secret vasectomy that failed, nor does he think he is sterile since he said himself that he should have been more careful and he doesn't know what he was thinking. I don't think he'd be saying that if he thought he was infertile. I also want to say that yes, he knows I'm not currently on birth control, and he was the one that decided not to use a condom, not me. I just agreed. I did not pressure him. At first he was pulling out, but occasionally he wouldn't. I don't know why he would continue not wearing a condom occasionally after the affair started. I'm guessing it was because telling me he no longer wanted to go without protection every time no matter what would make me suspicious. But that's basically it for now. I am not going to confront him about cheating right away. I am going to get the test, then confront him and tell him I want a divorce along with the test results. I mean, that's currently my plan, but my mind is also all over the place, so maybe that's not the best way to do this. I don't know. It's like 6 a.m. I feel like crap, and I haven't gotten any sleep lol. I almost forgot to mention that I am going to get an STD test just to be safe. I think I am going to get an abortion just because I don't want my first full-term pregnancy to be literal hell when it should be a happy experience, but thank you to everybody congratulating me. It means a lot. The next update will probably be after the paternity test, or whenever I feel like I need to update. TLDR, husband is cheating on me with my friend from last post, is definitely fertile and didn't get a secret vasectomy. I'm getting the paternity test and divorce papers to go along with them, and probably an abortion. Next story. I made dinner for only myself last night. Since moving in with my boyfriend, I have somehow become the only one doing kitchen duty. Well, most duties actually. I do all the laundry, I take the trash out to the bins, do all the cleaning in the bathroom, I dust the furniture. Then the kitchen duties, I do all grocery shopping, I make the menu, I do all the cooking and then do the dishes and clean the sink counters. I feed and water the cats and dog the cats are his. He does lawn duty. We live in a condo with a 20 square foot yard and half of it is covered in concrete and he Swiffers the floor a couple times a week. Everything else is on me. We both work full-time and split the bills evenly. I actually work more than him. He works 4 10-hour shifts a week and works 6 8-hour shifts. Obviously, this is now starting to cause lots of resentment. I have tried just not doing things, but they don't get done. I can't live in filth and I won't let his cat suffer because he doesn't notice the bowls are empty or the litter box is gross and full, so I break down and do it. I have tried asking him to do things. They still don't get done, or at least not in a timely fashion. He has forgotten to take the trash bins to the curb, causing us to have an excess amount of bags for a week, or left the leftovers out all night, causing them to spoil when I asked him to put the food in Tupperware. A month ago, I was super frustrated. I was working second shift instead of first like I normally do because a coworker had a child care emergency and I was being nice. I was coming home from work at 10 p.m. super hungry, and of course my boyfriend hadn't made dinner. And he has the nerve to complain about being starving when he's been home 5 hours. Even making something simple we weren't eating till 11:30 or so, and then he was going straight to bed, leaving me with cleaning up and putting the leftovers away. I ended up telling my boyfriend how crazy stressed I was keeping up with everything in the household. I felt pathetic, but I was basically begging him to make things more equal. He seemed to understand and promised to do more. And for a couple weeks he kinda did. He made the grocery order, cleaned the litter boxes, grilled for us twice. But that didn't last for long, and somehow I still was responsible for reminding him to help or assigning him these jobs. This last week my boyfriend has been on vacation from work. He had so much tow racked up that he had to take time off because he couldn't earn anymore. I still worked by normal 48 hours 6 to 2 p. I was getting home from work around 2:30 to hear my boyfriend complain about being hungry and asking to make some lunch. This has completely set me off, and I've lost so much attraction to him. I refused every time, causing him to have an attitude with me. When I got off work yesterday, I was exhausted and fell asleep on the couch. We had discussed the day before we would be having burgers that night for dinner, something he likes to make and that are actually really good when he does. But I woke up at 7 p.m. to him playing video games in our bedroom and asking, "When's dinner?" I left him to game and patted myself a burger, fried it, and ate my supper alone at the kitchen table. I cleaned up my mess and sat down in the living room to watch some TV. Sometime later he comes out and again asks, "When's dinner? Are you still making burgers?" I told him I wasn't feeling good and not hungry. He ended up just eating some chips and salsa. Too lazy to even make a frozen pizza. We go to bed, and this morning he complains about being starving, asking for pancakes or something more filling for breakfast than cereal since he didn't get dinner. I don't know how much longer this can go on. Update. Hi, had many people ask for an update to my original post in comments and in direct messages, so here goes. Sunday, my boyfriend and I had a lengthy discussion about the household inequality. I once again stressed with him how overworked I was, that I was losing attraction to him, that I was rethinking a future because being his mom was never something that I wanted to do. My boyfriend finally seemed to get that this was a make it or break it situation. He confided that he enjoyed being spoiled by me and apologized for taking advantage. He cried over the thought of losing me. He promised to do more without asking and even swore to start putting together a chore. On to today. This morning my boyfriend and I were getting ready for work, and he asked me if I would be okay making dinner tonight because he was planning on mowing and weeding after work. I agreed, although I was thinking that he should have mowed this weekend, especially since the last 4 days he said, "I'm going to mow tonight, but it needs done, so whatever." He then made a comment about how it makes sense for you to make dinner most days anyways. I asked why he figured that, and his reasoning was that I get off work earlier. I just kind of laughed and asked if they means he will be on dinner and dishes his 3 days off, and he made some kind of remark about it being nice if he could have 1 day free to himself a week and his hobby Saturday that can keep him out late. This really pissed me off, because who got off work earlier didn't matter when I worked the second shift last month and he gets home before 5:30, so it's not like he couldn't relax for an hour or so before cooking, and I will never have a free day to myself. Plus, since moving in together, anytime we argue about him not contributing, his reasoning is I get off work earlier, not taking into account that I work 2 days more than him. It was obvious then that he hadn't really learned anything. I told him so, and started crying because that's when I realized I was done and it was over. I didn't want to have that conversation right before going to work, so tonight I'll be officially ending our relationship. So I've been pretty useless at work today, making phone calls and preparing my next move. I sent an email to my old boss. I'm sure if they have any positions open, he would be glad to have me back. And a friend has been nice enough to offer me her spare room until my BFS lease runs out. Unfortunately, my landlord was not willing to remove me from lease because he doesn't think boyfriend can pay for it himself, so I'm just preparing to send him half of rent until February. But as soon as I have employment lined up back home, I'll be moving out. Until then, I'm cool sleeping on an air mattress in our spare room. I am very sad. I loved him. Still do. This is my first time moving in with a boyfriend, and I thought I did everything right. Like, we didn't rush, waited 1 year and 10 months to take this step, and made sure he could take care of his crap without me. But it still ended up this way. Next story. My 24F best friend 23F did something horrible at a mutual family friend's wedding, and blamed it on my younger sister 19F. I am considering cutting ties with her, but am having a hard time. This is a bit of an unusual situation, but I'll try to explain it as best as I can. The story involves myself 24F, my best friend Caroline 23F, my younger sister Nicola 19F, and our mutual friend groomsman Daniel 28M. Using real names because I know Caroline doesn't Reddit, and if anyone who witnessed this happens to see this, I'd love for them to get the actual facts of the story. So over the weekend, a very good family friend of both my family and Caroline's family was getting married. Caroline and I have been best friends for years. We met when we were toddlers. Our moms are best friends. Our sisters are friends, etc., etc. You get the picture. We knew that both of our families would be invited to this wedding, and we were looking forward to it for months. It's important to note that Caroline's family and my family have a ton of mutual friends, and this was going to be a very large wedding. Guest count was in the 500s. Everything was going fine and dandy until Caroline got completely wasted. She kept talking to me about how hot one of the groomsmen Daniel was, and how she'd had a crush on him for years, but he showed no interest. This was probably because he was in a serious relationship and had been dating his current girlfriend for 6 years. The girlfriend decided not to attend this wedding because she didn't know the bride and groom very well, and because Daniel would be a groomsman, she wouldn't see him very much either. Fast forward a couple of hours and Caroline is hanging all over Daniel. She's constantly asking him to dance with her, get her drinks from the open bar, etc. She's point blank throwing herself at him, and it was embarrassing and painful to watch. I tried intervening a couple of times to get her off of him, but she snapped at me, and at that point I decided that it wasn't my problem. Furthermore, Daniel wasn't completely pushing her away. He looked like he had a few drinks in him as well and seemed somewhat interested in Caroline. I decided that if he didn't care, I certainly wasn't going to. If he wanted to throw his relationship away, it was none of my concern. I tried. I didn't witness this next part, but by the end of the night Caroline and Daniel were having sex in a different room of the hall. Yes, it escalated quickly. To their misfortune, someone, I'm not sure who, just that it was someone's mom who knew Daniel and his girlfriend, but didn't know Caroline, walked in on them, and for some reason Caroline told this woman that she was Nicola, my sister. I don't know if she was embarrassed or drunk or what, but she purposely identified herself as Nicola so Caroline herself would not be in trouble. Word quickly spread that Daniel and Nicola were caught having sex, and Nicola was mortified. People were talking about how disrespectful, home-wrecking, rude Nicola was. I honestly can't even blame them. Had I not known better, I would be thinking the same things. On top of that, Caroline had gone around actually telling other people that it was Nicola and confirming the rumor she started. The bride and groom were pissed. Everyone was talking badly about my sister, and Caroline seemed to not care. In fact, when I confronted her about the situation at the wedding, she straight up denied it. Had Daniel not confirmed that it was Caroline he was hooking up with, and not Nicola, I might have even believed her. The next day, Caroline texted Nicola a half-hearted apology about the whole thing, saying she was so drunk and didn't know what she was doing. The texts included a lot of lolas and ha-has, so I'm not sure how seriously Caroline is taking the situation. She doesn't seem to realize how mortified Nicola is. Nicola genuinely thinks that her life is ruined. We live in a very tight-knit community, and a lot of people have heard the false version of what went down. I'm at odds with what to do. Up until this point, Caroline had been a very good friend to both I and Nicola. I'm just not sure if I can forgive her for this, especially considering her lack of consciousness about how bad the situation really is. Should I dump her? Or should I give her another chance? Our friendship will be different regardless. My family sees Caroline in a completely different light now. So even if I forgave her, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the same things we used to: hang out at my house, do things with my family, etc. What should I do? Reddit? Edit. At this point, a lot of people know that it was Caroline with Daniel, and not Nicola. However, I'm not sure how many is a lot. Our family friends know, but there were a lot of guests at the wedding who knew Caroline's family better than they did mine. I'm sure these people still think it was Nicola. Edit 2. Another issue is that Nicola is also terrified of the potential ramifications from Daniel's current girlfriend. I have absolutely no updates on the situation with the girlfriend. I don't know her well, and I don't know what Daniel has chosen to share with her, if anything at all. Edit 3. Because a lot of people are asking me how I could even consider remaining friends with Caroline prior to this experience. She was honestly a great best friend. Of course, we've had our ups and downs like all friends do, but she has always been a kind and caring person, and I really valued our friendship. I've known her my whole life, and the evening at the wedding was very uncharacteristic of her, including her coming on to a man who was in a relationship. Throwing away a friendship with someone who you have been close with for 15 plus years is extremely difficult. However, am I prepared to do this if it's the right thing to do? TL Doctor, best friend hooked up with a taken groomsman at a mutual friend's wedding. When got caught said she was my sister. Everyone was upset with my sister, and I don't know how to proceed. Update. First off, I wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone who responded. I definitely did not expect such a large amount of help and guidance from everyone. This community is awesome, and I really appreciate everyone's time and advice. I unfortunately could not respond to very many people's posts as I left the thread overnight, and once I woke up it was locked. So I figured the least I could do is provide an update. So about a week and a half ago, Caroline casually called me and asked to sleep over. She wanted to attend an event downtown, and my place was much closer to the event than hers. At this point, it became very clear that Caroline had no idea anybody was upset with her, despite the fact that Nicola and I hadn't spoken with her since the wedding. I told Caroline that I didn't think her sleeping over was a good idea, and when she had asked why, I brought up what happened at the wedding. She laughed and said Nicola needed to grow up and get over it, and it really seemed like she expected me to agree and laugh along with her. Well, Reddit, I took your advice and let her have it. I told her how selfish and inconsiderate she was, and if it truly was no big deal, then she should have no problem taking full responsibility for her actions and publicly acknowledging that she was the one who hooked up with Daniel, and not Nicola. I told her she needed to make things right because Nicola was still mortified over something she didn't do. At the end of the phone call, I gave her an ultimatum: post an apology to Facebook, and spill the beans about what actually happened, or our friendship was over, thanks to the Redditor who suggested this. To my complete and utter surprise, she did it. I thought it would make me feel better, but people were actually commenting on her FB status commending her bravery, and the fact that she did the right thing. I was super annoyed because of course she would never have done this had I not forced her to. But at the end of the day, Nicola is happy and her name is in the clear. Oh, and an update on Daniel and his girlfriend. According to his Instagram, they are happily together. Whether or not she knows about Caroline, I don't know and I don't care. Not my train wreck. TLDR, gave Caroline an ultimatum to post the truth on Facebook or stop being friends. She posted it on Facebook. Daniel and his girlfriend are still happily together. I'm still rolling my eyes. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.